On April 4, 1968, a single gunshot rang out in Memphis, Tennessee, cutting short the life of one of the most transformative leaders in American history. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a beacon of hope, equality, and justice, was assassinated while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. The tragedy stunned the nation and the world, leaving an indelible mark on the civil rights movement. Yet even decades later, questions surrounding his death remain shrouded in mystery, fueling debates about conspiracies and cover-ups. What kind of man was Martin Luther King Jr.? How did he rise to prominence? And why did he become such a significant threat to the powerful institutions of his time? Most importantly, was his death the result of a lone gunman's actions, or was it part of a larger orchestrated plot to silence him? To uncover these truths, we must start at the very beginning. His birth, his rise to prominence, and the forces that sought to erase his legacy. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. However, few people know that his birth name was Michael King Jr. His father, Michael King Sr., was a pastor who later adopted the name Martin Luther King in honor of the Protestant reformer Martin Luther. Following his father's lead, young Michael also changed his name, and by adulthood, he was known as Martin Luther King Jr., a name now synonymous with justice and equality. Martin grew up in a relatively middle-class household, which was a rarity for African Americans in the segregated South. His father was a fiery preacher at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, while his mother, Alberta Williams King, was a devoted teacher. From a young age, Martin was exposed to the harsh realities of racism, including a traumatic incident when a white friend's parents forbade their son from playing with him. These early experiences left a lasting impression on Martin, planting the seeds of his future activism. Education played a pivotal role in shaping Martin's life. A gifted student, he skipped several grades and entered Morehouse College at the age of 15. Though initially uncertain about his path, he was profoundly influenced by Dr. Benjamin Mays, the president of Morehouse and a prominent theologian. Dr. Mays introduced King to the concept of using faith as a tool for social change, inspiring him to pursue a career in ministry and activism. After graduating with a degree in sociology, King attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he further honed his oratory and leadership skills. He later earned his PhD in systematic theology from Boston University, becoming one of the most highly educated leaders of the civil rights movement. While studying in Boston, King met Coretta Scott, a talented musician and activist. They married in 1953 and became a dynamic partnership, committed to building a better world. Together, they raised 4 children: Yolanda, Martin III, Dexter, and Bernice. Despite the challenges of balancing family life with activism, Coretta remained an unwavering pillar of support for Martin. In 1954, King accepted a position as pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. It was here that his leadership skills began to shine. The following year, the arrest of Rosa Parks for refusing to give up her bus seat to a white passenger sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. King was chosen to lead the boycott, a role that thrust him into the national spotlight. The year-long protest resulted in a Supreme Court decision declaring segregation on public buses unconstitutional, a pivotal victory in the civil rights movement. King's approach to activism was deeply rooted in the philosophy of nonviolent resistance, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. He believed that love and nonviolence were the most powerful tools to combat hatred and injustice. This philosophy guided the movement through landmark events like the Birmingham Campaign, the March on Washington, and the Selma to Montgomery marches. The March on Washington in 1963 was a defining moment for King and the civil rights movement. Standing before a crowd of over 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial, he delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, envisioning a world where people would be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. This speech solidified King's place in history as a symbol of hope and resilience. Despite his achievements, King's growing influence made him a target for powerful forces resistant to change. Under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI launched an extensive and malicious campaign to discredit King. Hoover viewed King as a threat to national security, labeling him a communist and alleging ties to subversive groups. This smear campaign would become one of the most notorious examples of government overreach. The FBI's actions included wiretapping King's phones, bugging his hotel rooms, and gathering deeply personal information about his life. They sought to exploit his vulnerabilities with the goal of breaking his spirit and undermining his credibility as a leader. In 1964, the agency took its most chilling step, sending King an anonymous suicide letter. This letter, recently declassified, contained thinly veiled threats and cruel accusations. It read in part, "King, look into your heart. You know you are a complete fraud and a great liability to all of us Negroes. White people in this country have enough frauds of their own, but I am sure they don't have one at this time that is anywhere near your equal. You are no clergyman and you know it. King, like all frauds, your end is approaching. You could have been our greatest leader. You, even at an early age, have turned out to be not a leader but a dissolute, abnormal moral imbecile. You are done." The letter was accompanied by audio recordings of alleged extramarital affairs and concluded with a sinister suggestion. "There is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation." King, however, refused to bow to these cowardly threats. Despite the immense pressure and psychological warfare waged against him, he continued his mission, undeterred and unwavering. By 1968, King had shifted his focus to economic justice, planning the Poor People's Campaign to address systemic poverty. On April 3, 1968, in Memphis to support striking sanitation workers, King delivered his prophetic "I've been to the mountaintop" speech, seemingly predicting his own death. The next day, as he stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, a bullet struck him, ending his life at just 39 years old. James Earl Ray, a petty criminal, was quickly arrested and convicted of King's murder. However, doubts about Ray's guilt emerged almost immediately. Ray recanted his confession, claiming he had been manipulated into pleading guilty by his lawyer and alleging he was set up as a scapegoat. In the years that followed, evidence of a larger conspiracy began to surface. The Memphis Police Department and the FBI were implicated in suspicious activities leading up to King's assassination. Notably, police surveillance of King was mysteriously pulled back on the day of the killing, and key witnesses reported seeing individuals other than Ray in the vicinity. Additionally, the FBI's well-documented harassment of King and their documented desire to neutralize him cast a long shadow over the official narrative. The 1999 civil trial, a verdict on conspiracy. In 1999, the King family sought to uncover the truth behind Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination through a civil trial against Lloyd Jowers, a Memphis businessman who publicly admitted involvement in a conspiracy to kill King. Jowers claimed that he had been hired to arrange King's assassination and alleged that high-level individuals, including government operatives, were complicit in the plot. The trial spanned 3 weeks and included testimony from over 70 witnesses, each revealing critical details about a larger conspiracy. Among them were individuals who recounted suspicious activities by law enforcement, including the Memphis Police Department's abrupt withdrawal of security around King on the day of his murder. Witnesses also described the presence of unidentified operatives near the Lorraine Motel, raising questions about a coordinated effort to orchestrate the assassination. Perhaps most striking was the role of the FBI, whose deep-seated animosity toward King was well documented. Internal communications revealed their obsession with neutralizing King as a leader, and their surveillance operations provided a chilling backdrop to the conspiracy claims. Testimonies also implicated the U.S. Army's intelligence unit, which allegedly shadowed King in the weeks leading up to his death. The jury's verdict was historic. Lloyd Jowers and others, including governmental agencies, were found liable for conspiring to assassinate Dr. King. While this civil trial did not result in criminal charges, it provided a powerful acknowledgement of a broader plot and validated the King family's long-held suspicions. Coretta Scott King called the verdict a great victory, emphasizing the need for transparency and justice. Despite the jury's findings, the U.S. government has never reopened an official investigation into King's assassination, leaving many questions unanswered. The trial remains a critical but often overlooked chapter in the fight to uncover the full truth behind one of the darkest days in American history. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life was a testament to courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice. His assassination left a void that has never been fully filled, but his legacy endures in the progress he championed and the questions that remain about his death. Despite attempts to silence him, King's voice continues to inspire generations, urging us to strive for a world where equality and love prevail. As we reflect on his life, let us honor not only his achievements but also the ongoing quest for truth and justice. For in understanding the full story of Martin Luther King Jr., we gain a deeper appreciation of the fight for equality and the resilience of the human spirit.